in our life. The year was 2020. I know it's hard for everybody, but I found myself at a crossroads. I had just lost my brother. I had started the early phases of a divorce, and I was raising 4 kids. So I felt pretty heavy during this time. I had lost the ability to even create, to paint. I'd lost everything that felt like me. So I began to try to heal. It was only a few, it was this last year that I really began to explore painting again. Um, it started with flora. And let me tell you my process before I get any further. When I paint with an intuitive blocking of color. I get my paint and I let the color speak. I don't have any subject matter in mind. I don't have any composition in mind. I just let the color take control. Now, in that process, I do paint a lot of things. I have subject matter all over the place, all over my house. But I noticed that there was one trend, and it was flowers kept popping up. And flowers were my way of expressing my emotions. And I didn't realize that until I started collecting the pieces for this show and painting more. It was my way of expressing how I felt. So my first piece in this collection is Revival, and you'll see it over here. It is a poppy. When I started doing the color blocking, I noticed that this big red burst came out of it. And I was like, wow, that's my pain. I felt the pain. And I was like, but I don't know how to get it to go further. So I usually paint abstract paintings. And I thought, if I do an abstract, people can feel this in their own way. But I kept stepping back as I do. And I looked at it for an annoyingly long amount of time. And I saw a poppy. And I had this internal battle with myself over how flowers are represented. They are soft, they are fragile, they are temporary. But I felt myself at that moment as those things. And I felt a lot of pain. So is this the right thing to represent what I was feeling? Well, I painted the poppy. It was realistic. And I did not feel like it was supposed to be whole like it was. It should not have been realistic. So I thought about things that were broken and things that were mended together again. And I thought of stained glass, how it's broken but mended together in the most beautiful fashion. And I reduced those shapes and I made this geometric pattern. At the background, I started putting my heavy thoughts, everything I was feeling, and everything that I had lost for my future. And it felt very heavy putting those words on there. And as I kept making my painting, I realized I wasn't feeling those things anymore, and I needed to do something to show that I had moved on. So I started Xing out those words with big black paint. And you can still see a little bit of the words, just like the past, you can't erase it, but you can move on from it. So it's there as a little reminder of the past. As I started going through the rest of the painting, I started to realize I was softening my control of the painting. I have drips, I have pooling. That's the softening of control, which I feel is very important when you're healing from something so heavy. This piece isn't the only one that has emotions. My other pieces also have emotions. They're all related to grief. And the weird coincidence of having all the emotions go through, even in the grief, like happiness. And you can see that in my pieces, Wonderlust and Rome. Those are my pieces that reflect happiness and joy. My other pieces that reflect healing is through understanding how to gain my inspiration again, my creativity again, and finding confidence. Fearless over here and Radiant was part of that. Those are the pieces that I feel most connect to my creative side. The other pieces in the middle Garden at Rest 1, Garden at Rest 2, and Lilac at Rest. Those are all about rest, of course, and solitude. You've got to do that from time to time to heal from things this deep. Back to my brother for a moment. He was an inspiration for me to create my collection again. He was undiagnosed with autism for most of his life. He finally was diagnosed at 27, and that was really hard for him. Unfortunately, he passed a year after his diagnosis, and that felt like something that could have been prevented. But he was an artist for the last years of his life, and he painted alongside me for most of it. And I really want to just dedicate this to him and everything he did for me in the healing process. So, yeah. Thank you.